Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Profit Minds podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Stephen Kirch, creator of the Profit Minds Growth System, a unique blend of profit growth, productivity acceleration, and building robust business process for scale. In every episode, I interview entrepreneurs and small business owners from around the world with a unique story to tell. You can find the show on YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple and Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and more. Well, hi, everyone. Today, my guest is Beth Standlee, the CEO and founder of Trainertainment and author of People Buy from People. Today, we're going to be talking about how to get the most out of coaching and training. Welcome, Beth.
Hi, Stephen. How are you?
Doing great.
Good. I'm excited to be.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for taking time out of your busy day to join me here. So the first question that I ask every guest is, tell me your story. How did you get to be who you are and where you are and what you're doing?
Well, thank you. I've owned this company since 2005, so we're almost ready to celebrate 20 years. And I would share with you that I think I've always been an entrepreneur in my heart. In my book, People Buy from People, I talk about selling Girl Scout cookies and having the lemonade stand, when I was a kid. And
Right.
I found myself working in the entertainment industry, and that just led me. I was selling capital equipment, and it led me to create Trainertainment, because what had happened is I was selling people swipe card systems, basically, and point of sale. And the reason they were buying is because I was going on site after they got open, and I was coaching and training them about how to book more events and hold more parties and things like that I had done in a previous life, to help them make more money. So I believe in profit too, and so started this company to help other business owners to be more profitable and to have more revenue, basically.
Yeah, that's great. We're in the season of Girl Scout cookies here, and although by the time you listen to this, that will have passed.
They'll be gone. Yeah.
Yeah, but I remember when my sisters did that, and watching them go up and down the street and selling them for 50 cents a box. It
That was
dates
a
me
while
a
ago.
little bit.
Yeah, a while ago. And I sold Tupperware. I sold Tupperware for 11 years when I was a young mom and a new bride. And so, like I say, always had that entrepreneurial spirit, got great sales training in my lifetime. And then I'm just able to go ahead and pay that forward in this company.
Yeah. So how did you get started using a specific business system to grow your own company?
Well, so I had had a lot of experience with sales, and so I just began to teach sales teams in this entertainment space about how to grow their event and party sales. And listen, I studied at the feet of sales greats like Zig Ziglar. I've read just about every sales coaching and training book ever written, and I put together what we lovingly call in my company the sales pro system. I don't know if you can see it on that cup, but it's a wheel of 8 processes that we think that if you can improve your mindset, if you can prospect more frequently, if you connect with people first, if you qualify and then present and then close, there's like 8 pieces in that system. And we developed that particular system. On the business coaching side of things, we got real excited and exposed to EOS in 2014, the Entrepreneurial Operational System by Gino Wickman. Now, he studied at the feet of Vern Harnish,
Right.
and scaling up. And I just recently about a year ago, got certified as a scaling up coach. And so we have what we call the Sales Pro system, which is very developed by Trainertainment. And then we have a business coaching product where we've been influenced by Jim Collins and certainly Gino Wickman and Vern Harnish. And so we use tools. We use mostly scaling up tools at this point. And then we've developed some of our own as well. But we definitely have a system where we go in and help people strategically plan, take a look 6 to 10 years out. We bring them back in and look at the 3 to 5 year plan, and then 1 year, and then what are we going to do 90 days? And, I know you and I share that strategic planning love with entrepreneurs. And what I've found, and especially, you feel like you get on that hamster wheel because everybody wants to start right back here and put their foot one in front of the other and try to make things happen. But then we're just responding to day by day by day, where when you look out here first and then come back, oh my gosh, it's amazing. It helps with focus. It helps with, it helps with everything. It helps you know where you're going.
That's so true. I find, when I ask a small business owner, client, well, where do you want to be? What's your strategic outlook? They almost always give me a year plan. Here's where I'm going to be at the end of the year, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, you need to back up and take a longer view. I like going out 3 years. And I've been doing that for quite some time now.
Yes.
Because I find that going out 5 or 10 or asking people for their BHAG. And by the way, Jim Collins said in one of the, post one of his books, right? The interviews,
Yes.
He said, most of the time people really vastly underestimate what they can do in 20 years.
That's right. That's
assuming,
right.
of course, that the company is still in existence.
Right.
Right.
And then overestimate what they can do in the short term.
Well, yes, but if you talk to them about 3 years, there's something about that 3-year time frame that people can really get their heads around some of the things that could be different in that
Yes.
amount of time.
Yes.
But they also recognize, as you said, right, when we build that back and we say, okay, if that's where you want to be in 3 years, now where are you going to be in 2 years? And where do you have to be at the end of this year to get there, right? That paints an entirely different picture.
It does. And it's really different than starting back here and then going forward. It gives you it gives you a framework for what's the most important thing for me to work on. Because if I keep that in mind, if I keep that 3 year in mind, well, then I'm gonna be making different choices. We ask ourselves all the time. My COO, who, gosh, I could not run the business without her. We will ask each other all the time, are we making this decision because it's what we need right now? Or are we thinking like we're 10 times bigger than we are today? Because boy, when you start thinking about, well, if I were 10 times bigger, would I still be working on this? Is this what I would be doing? Would we make the decision in this way, or would we make it in this way?
Yeah.
And sometimes you can't do that. Sometimes you've got to do it the smaller way right now. But a lot of times you're like, well, no, I don't need to be doing that. Or let's do it this way because it's going to, while we can manage it because we're small now, even if we're 5 more people, that would be impossible. We wouldn't have enough time in the day to get anything done.
That's really true. Have you read the book 10x is easier than 2x?
Yes, and it's been long enough ago that I'm not going to quote anything.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Just for the listeners, that's Dan Sullivan and Dr. Ben Hardy.
He's wonderful. Yes.
And his thing is exactly that question that you asked, right? Would we do it the same way if we were 10 times the
Right.
size? And the only way to get to 10 times your size is to
It,
ignore it's the 80-20 rule, which we talk
that's
about
right.
all the time,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
You got to focus on the 20%, not the 80%.
That's right. That's exactly right. And you know, it's it's tough to do as an entrepreneur because a lot of times it means I need another person or I need to spend money on a different system or things like that. But if you never make those kinds of difficult decisions, you're going to probably always have what you've got right now. And that might be okay. That may be okay. You may be in a perfectly good place. 96% of all the businesses in this country do less than $1 million, and you may be very comfortable in that spot.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm not.
Yeah, I know.
I'm
Uh,
not.
and I'd be willing to bet that your clients are not either.
No, no, of course not. Of course not.
Right.
And so that's what we're growing them toward,
Yeah.
is a more of a life of freedom, not being like I see so many people who buy themselves a job almost. And if I want a job, I go work for somebody else, but I don't want a job,
That's
you
beautiful.
know?
That's I think one of the things that we do when we're coaching within I'll call it the Rockefeller habits
Yes. Yep.
framework, right?
Yep.
Is
Yep.
we actually start with the question for the CEO. Where
Yeah.
do you want to be in 3 years? Not
Right.
where do you want your business to be? Because as you correctly pointed out, so many times the business owner is in service to the business
That's right. That's
instead
right.
of the other way around.
That's
So
right.
if we start with the question, where do you want to be in 3 years? And then say, okay, now where does your business need to be to
Yeah.
support
Yes.
that lifestyle that you've just described? Then you get a very different picture of what that 3-year outcome that we just talked about, that strategic view,
Right.
where does the business need to be in 3 years?
Yeah. Well, and listen, I think that's why we like to have the 6-year conversation and then the
Mm,
3, because the the dreaming that can go on when you go a little further out is bigger. And
sure.
I think that the CEO and even people inside your organization can begin to think of their lives, and you can begin to hear them and what they want or need to be part of the organization, and it gives them a longer term um, input to have impact, and to know that the things they do create meaning. They get to see how they fit in the big picture, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's really true. And one of the other pieces, of course, is it's not just about why, it's not just your mission, but
Yeah,
it's also your vision. And that vision is what's the impact you're having, not just on your clients, not just
right,
on your customers, but also on your team
on the team. Yeah,
and and on your community and the world. Right.
agreed.
So that impact, that vision for the future being different, that's where we explore some of that with our clients, right?
Yeah, good.
Is within the context of that vision.
Yeah.
So um so tell me about your book a little bit. What was it that motivated you to write the book?
Yeah, so, this is always perfect time for that thing right there. And you have your copy too. I love it. I love it. So I I've always written. I was an English major. I like to write. Written lots and lots of newsletters and blogs and all that. So I had a book on my mind for a long, long time, and um, that's different than writing a newsletter or a blog. Let me tell you,
Very.
it's very different. And I had the wonderful opportunity to go to like a Monday morning, kind of just a little get together at when Zig Ziglar was alive. He lived over here in Dallas, and I got an invitation to come to this Monday morning event. And you talk about fangirl, I, I never even would go to Sunday school over there where he teaches because I thought, oh, I'll just have a breakdown if I'm in the room with him, and because I just admired who he was, and I went to this thing, and it was very intimate. Like we were in a small room, and they had like a not a meditation. I can't think of the word that I'm looking for, but it was just like a collaboration among 10 or 11 people. And Mr. Ziegler came in, and his son Tom knew how excited I was to meet him and all that. And literally, when he uh, when everything finished, Tom sat me by his dad, and Mr. Ziegler said, "All right, now, when are you gonna write that book?" And I just nearly had a breakdown because listen, I did not publish this book until 2019, and that probably happened in 2012 or something. I mean, he's been passed away for quite some time, and so it wasn't something that made me get it done right away, but it reinforced and reaffirmed for me that I had something that I needed to share. And so I that's a long way to tell you how I got there, but I I couldn't figure out exactly the story I wanted to tell, and I wound up getting a coach, believe it or not. Um, the book professor, Nancy Erickson, a friend of mine, recommended her book titled "Stop Stalling and Start Writing Your Nonfiction Book."
Huh.
And she gives a beautiful framework about how to get it to a point that you can begin to write. Because I had captured lots of stories and things like that. I did what I could do on my own with Nancy's guidance in her book, and then I picked up the phone and called her and had her coach and walk me through. And she handled all the hard stuff, all the copyright and editing and all that stuff. And I love it. It means a lot to me. It's wild that I released it in 2019. The subtitle is How to Personally Connect in an Impersonal World. And in, May of 2019, we were all together. And by March of 2020, we were very impersonal. We were shut down from one another. And I have it on my mind to do an epilogue because lots of things have happened since then. And I do think there's version 2 percolating in here, so keep an eye out.
All right,
Uh,
I will.
my mission here was to just share my story and how a career in sales can really change your financial future and freedom in your life. I wound up doing life a little bit backwards of my plan. I was a very young bride and mother very quickly, and Tupperware played a huge role in my life. I started selling it when I was 23 years old and made all the top stuff, and
Wow.
promoted 25 other people to manager and drove 9 company cars and all that kind of stuff. And sales helped me write that ticket. You know, I think great selling is about helping other people. Sales gets a terrible, terrible rap. People think of the profession as smarmy, slick salespeople, and I don't think that's right. I think that there are plenty of people out there that help other people get what they want or need, and I think when you do that from that framework, you can be very good at a job that not very many people are very good at it, and not very many people want to do it. But there's good money to be made in
Yeah.
sales.
And you don't have to be the slick used car
No,
salesman in order
no,
to succeed at selling.
I
Um,
agreed, and I think that's what I try to do here. The
mhm.
principles, the Sales Pro system, those principles are here in this book, and yeah,
Yeah.
I like
Yeah,
it.
somebody described to me the process of selling as exchanging value for value,
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to say it. It's a beautiful
right?
way say it. Yeah,
it's not any more than that. I have something that will help you. And in
that's
exchange, you give me something that will help me. And usually that's, the something that I'm selling, and
right,
you buy it by paying me dollars. But
right.
that doesn't have to be the
It
case,
doesn't.
right?
We trade.
But
Yeah,
it's an exchange of value for value.
yeah. That's a good way to put it.
And everybody wins.
Yeah, that's
Right?
right. I've never sold anything that I didn't feel like that happened. I don't want to sell things that are like that.
Yeah.
I think great selling is about helping other people. And I, whatever I have sold, I really passionately believe that that was the case. And if not, well, I didn't sell it to you.
Yeah.
So I'm not in. People will say, "Oh, Beth, you can sell ice to Eskimos." Well, no, because I wouldn't sell ice to Eskimos. That's
Unless
not.
it was
eh,
summertime.
Well, there you go. If they're really hot or they need some
I-
tea, whatever.
uh, yeah. Um, so what's one piece of advice that you have today what is one of those things that you've learned here that you really wished you'd followed from the very beginning?
So I love that. I love that question, and I love to ask entrepreneurs that question as well. The coaching clients that we work with, and I think probably I joined Vistage in 2008, and I started my company in '05. To have found a CEO peer group earlier would have like it might not be a requirement of being an entrepreneur. Is that you have to join maybe we have a license or something that people have to join a CEO group to start a business, because the help that I got was just extraordinary, and the relationships that I have, the CEO friends that I have. I was just to dinner the other night, on Friday night, with one of my dear friends from that group, and it's so valuable. The CEO doesn't have anybody to hold them accountable. That's why a coach is a great idea. A peer group is a great idea. Um, I think you have to decide what kind of peer group. I didn't do things like just network at the chamber or whatever. I mean, the CEO group I belonged to, and we didn't stay Vistage forever. We kind of went out on our own eventually, and but we were specific about how we were to show up. It wasn't if you can get there. The commitment level was very high. We worked on issues. I would have done that right out of the gate, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Being an
couldn't even call my
entrepreneur. Yeah.
huh?
So being an entrepreneur or a CEO, it's very lonely.
It is. It
Um,
absolutely is.
and,
And I'll tell you, Stephen, I couldn't even call myself CEO for years. Like I thought, well, I'm just Beth Standlee. And there's value in being the CEO. There's value in saying I own this business. I'm the founder, and to throw your shoulders back and know that you get to be in this game, and that's part of it. Is that you're not just working in the business, that that you get to work on the business, like when you get to work on the business, you've arrived. And I don't get
that,
to a
yeah.
lot.
That's absolutely true, right? That finding that balance between working on the business and
Yeah,
working in the business. And of course, if you really want to scale your business, right? If you
yeah,
want to have some kind of a long-term exit strategy, and of course, one of the things I say to small business owners is, you will exit your business at some
one
point,
way, yeah, one way or
right?
another.
The
Yeah,
question is whether or not it's planned, whether or not you have, created the resource that creates a legacy,
right,
or you're just somebody's going to carry you out in a plain pine box,
right.
right?
That's right.
um but you will eventually exit, and so better to, and if you want to maximize the value, you have to get to the point where you're working almost none at all in your business,
Yeah,
because if you're critical to the service that you deliver, the product that you deliver, the business doesn't have much value outside of you.
Yeah.
So that balance between working on and in. But on the other hand, most of the small business owners got into the business
Because they love
because they love what they
They
do.
love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael Gerber says that entrepreneurs get born because people who have jobs wake up one morning and have an entrepreneurial seizure and decide, "Ooh, I can do that better,"
Yep.
And then many of them just remain the technician in the business
Yeah.
because that's what they love. Doctors and dentists and like those folks want to do dentistry or they want to do doctoring. They don't want to run a business.
Right.
And
And they haven't been trained for it either.
that's correct. That's
Right.
correct. Lots of them have not. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, uh,
Anyway,
so if somebody wants to get in touch with you, Beth, what's the best way for them to reach out?
well, so you can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook. Certainly, we have a website at trainertainment.net. I do have a People Buy from People website as well. Beth at trainertainment.net. And I'm happy to share my phone number. You can probably find that on the website too, though, if you want to do that. Maybe I don't need to share my number with the whole world. I got Zoom bombed right off the bat in
Oh,
2020. I don't know if you ever were fortunate enough to have that happen, but we learned a lot more about tightening things up after
yeah.
that. So maybe I don't want to give my phone number.
Yeah, probably not.
But Beth at trainertainment.net would love to listen to your story about your leadership and if you could use strategic help or sales coaching. I have a wonderful group of coaches that are at the ready to help your teams grow. So sales and or business coaching. We do on-site or virtual training. We have all that and a bag of chips.
That's
Our
great.
our tagline is "Fun training, serious results," and we mean that. In our core values, we think that if people are having fun, they're probably absorbing, retaining, and more apt to use what they're learning. So, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And that concludes our show. Thanks so much to my guest, Beth Standlee, the CEO and founder of Trainertainment. I hope you learned something about the value of coaching and training. I know I did. Thanks for listening. You've been listening to the Profit Minds podcast. This is your host, Dr. Stephen Kirch. Please visit www.profitminds.net for other episodes or to contact me. Thank you for your positive feedback, comments, questions, and for sharing this show with others. Thanks for listening. Have a grateful day.